I think okay. So this morning, what I've been playing with recently, and I do recommend play in a way, is the difference between um, personal effort and sraddha, confidence or faith. And by that I mean having confidence, having faith in awareness itself. I think for myself, at times, personal effort, it's almost like I don't quite, I'm not consciously having enough faith in the practice, or having enough faith that awareness is there, that it will arise, and that somehow I have to do it, that it's about my personal effort, or that I need to be more aware, or yeah. And I think what can happen there, and it's quite a subtle thing sometimes, is that that personal effort can kind of override awareness. It's almost like we kind of, you've got this beautiful flower, and you start painting over it to make it look better or more vibrant, or whatever it is you think it should be, or I think it should be. So there's this sense in which awareness, yeah, it's quite a subtle thing of just letting it arise and letting it pass away. So when the mind wanders, which it will, of course, is there'll be a moment where you notice that the mind has wandered, and there is a tendency then, isn't there, to slightly slightly berate ourselves, or slightly kind of pull ourselves back to something in a way. And actually that noticing that the mind has been off with wherever it was on the vegetarian counter in Asda or wherever, that is awareness re-arising. Awareness does itself. It's not, in a way, it has that element of anatta as well, that the awareness is not self. It's not something that we do, although there is something we can do, but it's very, very little, very, very little. And that is, in a sense, having confidence that awareness is present, and when it's not, and noticing what is that subtle difference between being unaware and being aware. Yeah. Because even when we're unaware, there's usually some consciousness of, what we're not aware of. When we're driving the car and we're having a conversation and still managing to turn corners and stop at traffic lights, there's consciousness present, but we may not be very aware in that moment, in the sense of sati. So in a way, sometimes, we can just think of our practice, or approach our practice of just turning up physically is enough. Yeah. That just to sit and resolve to sit for 40 minutes or 50 minutes or 10 minutes or whatever that period is. And that just sitting there is enough, and letting awareness arise, letting awareness present itself, as it were, and notice, let the mind wander, let the mind do whatever it wants, because it will anyway. And I find sometimes when I can approach it that way, I start to notice things that I wouldn't normally notice. Quite subtle things, that might be a thought, or a judgment or something, or even a fear. I noticed this morning when I was playing with this, in a sense, I noticed quite a bit of fear arising, and that kind of caught my interest. It wasn't intense, but There was fear there. And what is that fear? And I think it was that letting go into allowing awareness to do rather than me to do awareness. So it kind of slightly threatened my sense of self, as it were. There's just two things I draw our attention to. Is I heard this a little while ago that Bhikkhu Bodhi was saying that there are only two things we can do in the spiritual life, in the Dharma practice, and that is to start and to continue. And by that I mean setting time aside for practice, and during the day noticing, so starting, noticing, and then allowing that to continue, and noticing when it disappears. And Sayadaw U Tejaniya, who's one of my teachers about this, says there are three things. So Bhikkhu Bodhi says there are two, and Sayadaw U Tejaniya says there are three, and that is that the practitioner can only do three things: pay attention to the present moment, continue paying attention to the present moment, and cultivate right view. And that right view being the naturalness of awareness, the naturalness of awareness. There's always an object, yeah. And seeing that process, seeing that the mind constantly picking up. So in a way, you can see that we're always in the present moment. We're never not in the present moment. And there are only 6 things happening in the present moment, and that is seeing, hearing, sensing, smelling, tasting, and, for want of a better word, mental activity. So everything else, so feeling, craving, aversion, delusion, thinking, imagining, proliferation, that comes under that category. And only one of those 6 things is happening in any moment. And what we can do is notice that the mind, where is the mind now? Am I aware of what is happening, which will be one of those things? And all we need to do is notice and have confidence that awareness can do that by itself, as it were. And notice when self-effort comes in as well, that that can be a very, very subtle privileging of certain experiences. So, we feel, oh, I was very aware when I felt relaxed and calm and spacious, and but we're also aware when we feel confused and lost, and there's an unpleasant feeling to it, and there's a wanting there. That is awareness as well. So we can very often think that, oh, I need to make more effort, I need to be more aware, when in fact awareness is there. It's just, we're just not enjoying it in that particular moment, or it's not fitting with we're not, that's an experience that's not privileged. And very often we can actually not see, because our delusion plays a part in that as well. So we cannot see what's happening because we're privileging certain experiences. We're not noticing certain experiences. And when you sink into that and just let awareness arise, or not, because you're already doing your part, which is sitting there. You're paying attention just by sitting, in a way. Play with that dynamic between personal effort and just letting go, and finding when awareness arises, and noticing what you do with that. Do you then try to make more, I must stay aware, or just awareness is it's back again. Okay. to